Liam Delap's relegation release clause is only £30 million. We've been told they believe it was around £40 million for a while, but £30 million is a pretty good price for a player that is younger than Rasmus Hojlund on 12 Premier League goals for a relegation side and English, which obviously just you have to get a certain amount of English players in the squad, so they're normally worth a little bit more. So we're going to talk about that because it's not only news about Delap, him being a big United priority, but there's competition with Chelsea. But Manchester United set to sell Rasmus Hojlund, put him up for sale. Now, I'm going to talk about Rasmus Hojlund and the possibility of him leaving and what would need to happen for United to let go of Hojlund. And Mbeumo and Cunha links as well. They're wanted on top of Delap. If you can't get Cunha, we might go for Mbeumo. Rumours of Mateta, but I don't think there's too much in it. And the Amorim speaks about Zirkzee, he speaks about Mainoo, their roles, having them back in the squad, and more. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup. I'm filming this video at halftime in the Villa PSG game, and I have to say, Desiree Doué, we were linked to him, we looked at him, we probably were never going to beat PSG to him, but if we'd have got Desiree Doué, Lenny Yoro was a gem from Liga, and Liga and have so many gems. If we'd only gone and got Desiree Doué, it would have been beautiful. And I have to say, the talent at PSG in that attack, Desiree Doué, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Barcola, then they got João Neves and Vitinha. I'm just jealous. I'm really jealous right now. We're not here to talk about PSG. We're here to talk about Manchester United. But do hit that like button if you enjoyed today's roundup, and feel free to subscribe down below if you're new. So Fabrizio Romano said this, which was actually first reported by The Guardian. Liam Delap's release clause at Ipswich Town will be worth £30 million in the case of relegation. Manchester United and Chelsea both keen on the player as he's part of the shortlist for the summer transfer window. City also have a 20% sell-on clause, as The Guardian reports. So that's a big blow for Ipswich, getting relegated, and they'll probably make only about 20-something million from Delap. But 30 million for Liam Delap, I think that's a really good deal, actually. Now, I've always said Gyökeres is the number one for me. Victor Osimhen is the number two for me. But if you can get Liam Delap for 30 million or less, you have to just say you got to go for that. Now, Chelsea are going to be all over that. It's a youngster available. Chelsea will be all over that. They're also looking at striker, but he's going to get more game time at Man United than Chelsea. He's competing with Jackson at Chelsea. He's competing with Hojlund at Man United. While it's not the be-all and end-all if we miss out on Delap, I just think the price that he's available for, the fact that Sporting were looking at him to bring in under and be a Gyökeres understudy, I think that's something United have to go for. And as I've always said, Delap and Cunha, good business. Delap and Dibbling would worry me because that's two young players. But if you bring Delap with a Cunha in, or you bring Delap with an Mbeumo in, or even a Morgan Rogers for the 10 role, at least one of the attacking additions is sort of that more experienced and a little bit more ready-made. Cunha and Delap for 60 million combined both improve the physical flooring of the team and Premier League proven. That is smart business, especially when Victor Osimhen wants over 320k a week, is what I said. I don't think we're going to get Victor Osimhen. I think he's going to go to Saudi. I don't think we're going to get Gyökeres. I have a feeling he's going to go to Arsenal or Liverpool. I just have a feeling we're going to miss out. Maybe if we win Europa League, we get Gyökeres. I still think Delap will go to Chelsea because I think when you're competing with Chelsea for a player, particularly a young player, Chelsea will probably try and get that deal done in the next few weeks, where we'd wait till July to say we need to make sure we sell so-and-so before we make a move for Delap, and that would cost us. I think that's what could happen with Delap. I think he'll probably go to Chelsea, but I look at that and I think £30 million isn't my first choice, but that's the kind of money we should have spent on Hojlund. As a project striker, 30 million, not 72 million. And it's a shame we don't have a ready-made striker, and Delap could be the project striker for 30 million, but that's the situation. Now, talking of Hojlund, there is reports coming out that Manchester United will put Hojlund up for sale. Manchester United have made Rasmus Hojlund available for transfer after failing to impress under Ruben Amorim. Do I think Hojlund could be available for transfer? Yes. Do I think Hojlund will be up for transfer? No. Now, as far as I'm aware, Hojlund's book value in the summer will still be £38 million, which means for Manchester United to avoid making a loss, they'll need £38 million. Now, Manchester United will maybe sell for 40 million or more, but I think because of the potential and the lack of strikers available, and that Man United do believe he could be a good striker, I don't think Manchester United would be interested in selling Hojlund unless they could get 50 million. I don't think we would. Now, I don't think anybody's going to come in for Hojlund for 50 million in this market, but I do think there's potential that someone could pay up 40 million for Hojlund, see his potential, see the environment he's in at Manchester United. I think there's definitely a possibility of that. But we won't sell Hojlund unless we get at least £38 million. And we know that United some people still think he's got a good future and a bit reluctant to sell Hojlund. But I think United would probably be open to 50 million offer for Hojlund, because it said that while they believe there's a lot of potential in Hojlund, there are a few people in and around the club that don't rate Rasmus. I don't know if that's Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim feels a bit sorry for him, I think, with the lack of service, and he's not ready made. There's people at Man United that really believe that Rasmus can be that guy. There are probably people at Man United that are having their doubts. He's not been good enough lately. His all-round game isn't bringing enough, despite not getting much service. I think he could definitely bring more to the club. So this will be an interesting one to watch in regards to Rasmus Hojlund. But even if he's up for sale, I don't think that means he goes. I think Hojlund, Mount and Nana will all stay at Manchester United. Mason Mount will definitely stay because no one's going to put a bid in for him with his injury record. I think Nana, unless Saudi come in, will stay. And I think Rasmus Hojlund, unless an offer of 40 million plus comes in, I think he will stay. If I was going to be completely honest, I think Man United could be open to it, but I don't think he will go. If we signed Delap and Gyökeres, then he would go, but I don't think that will be the case. It was said, Manchester United are refusing to rule out the possibility of attempting to sign Bryan Mbeumo if they fail to land Matheus Cunha, as the Brentford star has worked his way onto the radar of the Old Trafford recruitment department. So this was said by Give Me Sport again, who are a bit hit and miss. Some people that work for Give Me Sport and write are very credible, very good journalists. Other people are less credible, so you always have to bear that in mind. I'm not sure who wrote this one. But I think the plan is Delap and one of these guys. I think the way Man United look at it is probably the way I look at it, and it's like, bring Delap in, but make sure the number 10 is an experienced goal scorer in the Premier League. And Mbeumo and Cunha have very good goal records in the Premier League for lesser clubs than United, and they're a bit more experienced and they're at an older age, and they could also play striker if need be, but they'd probably be better suited to the 10 roles. Maybe that's the way that Manchester United are looking at it, to sort of bolster that attack. But if we don't get Cunha, they might go for Mbeumo. I wouldn't be shocked if we looked at Semenyo. I think we'd try for Morgan Rogers, but I don't think we'd have really any chance of getting Morgan Rogers. I think we are focused on Cunha. It was reported over the last few days that Cunha's open to the Manchester United move. Even if we don't get Champions League football, Cunha is very much open to that move, and that we are going to talk with his agent and potentially make moves. But I think obviously selling Rashford, selling Anthony, selling Sancho also really influences how much money we have to spend on someone like Cunha or Mbeumo. Continuing on, Give Me Sport said that we are continuing to keep tabs on Mateta, as the Crystal Palace star has been identified as a potential summer acquisition if they're unable to win Delap. And I just added to that, reliable sources did say while Mateta's been looked at, he's not one of the priorities. He'd only be looked at for missed out on Delap and a few other players. He's further down the list. I think he's an emergency stop for striker, but Palace want about 40 million for him, and I wouldn't pay that kind of money for him, in my opinion. So let's talk about Zirkzee, because I think he's shown really he's more of a 10 than a striker, but I think Ruben Amorim would probably like him to be a striker based off his comments. This is what Ruben Amorim said on Zirkzee. He's still improving in every area. I think he needs to be more selfish. He needs to be a striker. As a striker, he's more aggressive now, he works better now, he defends better now. He played as a striker in some games, especially against Arsenal, and he did very well. In other games like Sociedad, he played more as a 10. He can adapt to different situations. He's improving and showing good things. So Ruben Amorim said on Joshua Zirkzee that he needs him to be more selfish, be more of a striker. I think Joshua Zirkzee's link-up play, his general play is really, really good, and he's looked pretty good recently in that sort of 10 role, but he doesn't score enough goals, and he isn't selfish enough, and he isn't in the box enough to be a striker. And I think ultimately he was signed to be a striker. I think he's showing he's more of a number 10. I think at striker he adds more than Hojlund, but he doesn't have that ball striker or finishing that Hojlund could finish certain chances. I don't think Zirkzee could. But I think Amorim is right. We need Zirkzee to be more selfish. We need him to score more goals. We need to see him act as more of a 9, but I ultimately think he could potentially be a long-term 10 in the system. There was some rumours of Italian clubs being interested in Zirkzee this summer, and while I think Hojlund's the striker that needs to go, and Zirkzee's been quite impressive lately, United could potentially look at offloading Zirkzee, while there are still clubs willing to pay 30 to 40 million pounds for him, and we wouldn't lose any of our money on that deal. Now let's talk about Kobbie Mainoo. Ruben Amorim was asked about Kobbie Mainoo today, who's returned to training. When I see Kobbie, I see a lot of talent, but the way I see it, and I could be wrong, I see things that Kobbie needs to improve. He needs to improve his build-up. I think he's one of the best we have, but continuing on. Close to the box is a lot of talent, and that's why I think he had a very good performance in the Europa League in that position. I don't see a complete player right now because he's 19. If I say I see a finished project, I don't think I'm helping Kobbie. So Ruben Amorim is basically saying, Kobbie, this fantastic talent, but there's elements of games he needs to improve. He's still not a complete player, which is the absolute truth. Anyway, people, this was your 10-minute news roundup. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.